Welcome back to Afro Histories, where we uncover the truth they tried to bury. Today, we're diving into one of the most electrifying stories of the ancient world, the romance of Julius Caesar and Cleopatra. But this isn't the watered-down, cookie-cutter white version you got in school. Julius Caesar wasn't some pale Roman aristocrat, and Cleopatra wasn't a whitewashed Hollywood princess. Caesar was a black Roman, born of African lineage, and Cleopatra was a black Egyptian queen, descended from the Nubian and Ethiopian roots of the Ptolemaic dynasty. Together they were a 1st century BC black power couple, a duo so fierce they shook the foundations of world empires. Think Jay-Z and Beyoncé commanding the stage, or Barack and Michelle Obama redefining black leadership. Caesar and Cleopatra were that level of iconic, and their love story was a blazing testament to our very own black excellence. But their brilliance sparked envy, and that envy fueled a racist conspiracy led by Brutus and Cassius to take Caesar down. This is a tale of love, power, and the unbreakable spirit of Pan-Africanism. Let's get into it. Julius Caesar was born in 100 BC, not to some lily-white Roman family, but to a lineage tracing back to the Numidian kings of North Africa. His ancestors were black warriors and traders who'd settled along the Tiber centuries before. Caesar's skin was a deep bronze, his features broad and proud. Think of him as a man who carried the strength of Carthage and the wisdom of Kemet in his very bones. He wasn't just another Roman, he was a black man who rose through sheer intellect, strength, and grit, defying a system stacked against him. By his 30s, he'd climbed the ranks, proving that black excellence could conquer even Rome's whitest marble halls. His enemies whispered slurs like the Moorish upstart, but Caesar turned their hate into fuel, building a legacy that stretched from the Mediterranean to modern-day France. Then there's Cleopatra, or Cleopatra VII, born in 69 BC, the last queen of Egypt's Ptolemaic line. Forget the pale portraits, she was a black woman, her lineage tied to the Nubian queens who'd ruled along the Nile for millennia. Her skin glowed like polished ebony, her hair coiled tight, her eyes sharp with the knowledge of her ancestors. Egypt under the Ptolemies had Greek influence, sure, but Cleopatra's blood ran deep, with the black royalty of Upper Egypt and Kush. She spoke 9 languages, mastered astronomy, and ruled with a vision that echoed the pharaohs of old. She wasn't just a queen, she was a force, a symbol of black nationalism, who saw Egypt as the heart of a Pan-African resurgence. When Caesar met her, it wasn't just politics, it was destiny. Their romance kicked off in 48 BC when Caesar sailed to Alexandria chasing his rival Pompey. Cleopatra, then 21, knew Rome's power could bolster her throne, but she saw something more in Caesar. A kindred spirit, a black man who'd clawed his way to the top like she had. Legend says she had herself rolled up in a carpet and delivered to him. Bold, brilliant, beautiful, black, and unapologetic. Caesar, 52 and battle-hardened, was struck by her audacity. Here was a queen who matched his fire, a woman whose beauty and intellect rivaled the ancestors. They didn't just ally, they fell hard, 2 black titans uniting against a world that feared their kind. Picture Jay-Z spitting bars about empire while Beyoncé owns the stage beside him. That's Caesar and Cleopatra, a power couple rewriting the rules. Their love wasn't quiet. Cleopatra bore Caesar a son, Caesarion, in 47 BC. A child they saw as the future of a black dynasty stretching from Rome to the Nile. They flaunted their bond, hosting lavish feasts in Alexandria where Caesar donned Egyptian robes and Cleopatra wore Roman laurels. It was a statement, 2 black rulers merging their cultures, dreaming of a Pan-African empire that would dwarf the petty fiefdoms of Europe. Like Barack and Michelle, they balanced strength and grace. Caesar the warrior, Cleopatra the strategist, showing the world what black leadership could achieve. Their enemies in Rome seethed, calling it scandalous. But really, they were terrified. A black man and a black woman holding that much power? It was a threat to everything they stood for. Caesar's vision was bigger than Rome. He didn't just want to rule, he wanted to transform. He pushed land reforms to uplift the poor, many of whom were black and brown laborers descended from Africa's diaspora. He extended citizenship to provinces like Gaul and Hispania, places where people of color had long been trampled by Roman boots. Cleopatra fueled this dream, whispering of Egypt's golden age when black pharaohs built pyramids and mapped the stars. Together, they saw Rome not as a white city, but as a black empire, a beacon of Pan-Africanism that could civilize the savage tribes of Europe. Caesar's legions, packed with black soldiers from Numidia and Ethiopia, marched under his banner, a testament to the strength of African blood. But brilliance like that draws envy, and envy breeds betrayal. Enter Brutus and Cassius, the snakes in Caesar's grass. Marcus Junius Brutus, his so-called adopted son, and Gaius Cassius Longinus, a lean, bitter senator, couldn't stand Caesar's rise. They were pale patricians, born to privilege, their families rooted in Rome's old, white elite. To them, Caesar was an outsider, a black man who dared to outshine them. His triumphs in Gaul, his reforms, his romance with Cleopatra, it wasn't just power they hated. It was his blackness. They whispered in the Senate, stoking fears that Caesar would make Rome too African, that his son with Cleopatra would turn their empire into a black dynasty. Their racism wasn't subtle. It was the core of their conspiracy. The plot thickened in 44 BC. Caesar had just been named dictator for life, his popularity soaring among Rome's common folk, many of whom saw themselves in his dark skin and bold spirit. Brutus and Cassius rallied a crew of 60 senators, all cut from the same pale cloth, all jealous of a black man's success. They didn't care about the Republic. That was their excuse. What gnawed at them was seeing Caesar, a man they deemed beneath them, crowned with laurels, adored by millions, loved by a black queen. Cleopatra's presence in Rome that year, living openly with Caesar, was the final straw. To them, she was a threat, a reminder that black excellence could eclipse their fragile supremacy. They decided he had to die. March 15, 44 BC, the infamous IDES of March, became their day of reckoning. Caesar walked into the Senate, confident, maybe too trusting. Brutus and Cassius led the charge, daggers hidden under their togas. 23 stabs later, Caesar fell, blood pooling on the marble floor. His last words, "Et tu, Brute," and "You, Brutus," weren't just shock. They were the cry of a black man betrayed by a world that couldn't handle his greatness. The conspirators didn't stop at murder. They spread lies, claiming Caesar was a tyrant, erasing his African roots from the record. They wanted history to forget the black Roman who dared to love a black queen and dream of a black empire. Cleopatra didn't flinch. She fled back to Egypt with Caesarion, vowing to keep their vision alive. She ruled for another 14 years, raising their son as a symbol of Pan-African hope. She defied Rome's white legions, outsmarting them at every turn, proving our black sisters could hold power just as well as any man. Caesar's death didn't kill their dream, it lit a fire. His assassination showed the world what happens when black excellence shines too bright. The jealous strike back. But it also showed our resilience. Like Jay-Z and Beyoncé turning criticism into classics, or Barack and Michelle rising above hate, Caesar and Cleopatra's love endured beyond the grave. The parallels to today are uncanny. Jay-Z and Beyoncé, two black icons dominating culture, building wealth, and lifting up their people, mirror Caesar and Cleopatra's swagger. Jay's rhymes and Bey's anthems echo the same defiance Caesar showed in battle and Cleopatra wielded in court. Then there's Barack and Michelle Obama, a power couple who faced down racism to lead a nation. Barack's cool-headed brilliance, Michelle's unshakable grace, they're modern reflections of Caesar's strategy and Cleopatra's poise. Both couples faced the same venom Caesar did, jealousy from those who can't stand to see black folks thrive. The conspiracies didn't stop with Brutus and Cassius, they just changed shape. Rome tried to bury Caesar's blackness. Historians like Plutarch and Suetonius, writing decades later, painted him as a fair-skinned Roman, scrubbing his Numidian roots clean. They couldn't admit a black man had conquered Gaul, reformed Rome, and won Cleopatra's heart. It threatened their whole narrative. White supremacy couldn't handle a black Caesar. They downplayed Cleopatra too, lightening her skin in art, ignoring her African heritage. But the truth seeps through. Early coins show Caesar with coiled hair and broad features, and Egyptian reliefs hint at Cleopatra's true hue. Their love was a Pan-African triumph, a middle finger to a world that feared black power. What made Caesar and Cleopatra so dangerous? Their unity. They weren't just lovers. They were partners in a mission to reshape the world. Caesar's reforms, Cleopatra's wealth, they pooled it all to uplift their people, to show that black leadership could outshine anything Europe had to offer. That's black nationalism. not begging for a seat, but building your own empire. Their son, Caesarion, was meant to carry that torch, uniting Rome and Egypt into a black empire that would have rewritten history. Brutus and Cassius didn't just kill a man, they tried to kill that dream. But dreams like that don't die easy. Their story resonates because it's ours. Every time we rise, whether it's Nat Turner plotting rebellion, Malcolm X spitting truth, or Beyoncé dropping Formation, the jealous plot against us. Caesar's assassination wasn't the end. It was a warning. Black excellence draws daggers, but it also forges legends. Caesar and Cleopatra didn't bow, they built, they loved, they conquered. They showed us what Pan-Africanism looks like, two black souls hand in hand staring down empires. Rome fell, but their spirit didn't. It lives in every one of us who dares to shine. So why does this matter on Afro Histories? Because Caesar and Cleopatra aren't just names in a book. They're proof of what we've always been, brilliant, bold, unstoppable. Their romance was a revolution, a blueprint for black power couples everywhere. Jay-Z and Beyoncé carry that torch, Barack and Michelle amplify it, and we, every one of us, inherit it. The racists thought they could bury Caesar's blackness, dim Cleopatra's light, but we're here, digging up the truth, reclaiming our kings and queens. This is Afro Histories, where we don't just tell stories, we resurrect legacies. Julius Caesar and Cleopatra were the 1st century BC's ultimate black power couple, a love so strong it scared Rome to death. Brutus and Cassius couldn't handle a black man's success, couldn't fathom a black woman's reign, so they struck. But we remember, we honor, we rise. If this hit you, smash that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe to Afro Histories for more. Caesar and Cleopatra's empire didn't fade. It lives on in us, and we're just getting started. Peace.